to not like to be stared at.
At 79, Linda Ronstadt no longer cares about rumors, discretion, or the delicate dance of Hollywood secrets. With the sharp wit of a woman who has lived boldly and loved fiercely, she finally reveals the truth that fans have speculated about for decades: the 7 iconic artists she once shared her bed with. No apologies. No hesitation. Just the unfiltered honesty of a legend who has nothing left to hide. These weren't casual encounters. Each man left a mark on her life, her music, and her heart, and the first name she reveals is one nobody expected. Number 1. Randy Newman. When Linda Ronstadt began her story, she didn't start with the handsome rock stars, the wild poets, or the dangerous rebels. She began with Randy Newman, a man whose allure came not from cheekbones or stage swagger, but from the sharpest mind she had ever encountered. Randy wasn't the kind of man who flirted with his eyes. He flirted with his ideas. The two of them would sit in dimly lit studios long after everyone else had gone home, discussing chord progressions, lyrical metaphors, and the strange ways music could break a person open. Linda admitted that she didn't realize she was falling for him until one night when he explained the emotional architecture behind one of his songs. His voice was soft, analytical, almost professorial, and she felt something shift inside her. It wasn't lust at first, it was fascination that slowly, irresistibly became attraction. "Randy seduced me without touching me," Linda said. "He seduced me with a sentence." Their connection was cerebral, deep, and quietly erotic. When they finally crossed the line, it didn't feel like two bodies meeting. It felt like two intellects crashing together in a moment of pure, electric clarity. It was the softest beginning on her list, but one that set the tone for everything that came after. Number 2, Jackson Browne. If Randy Newman seduced Linda's mind, Jackson Browne seduced her soul. Jackson was the embodiment of the California 70s. Soft light, warm nights, acoustic guitars, and lyrics that made you feel seen, understood, and heartbreakingly alive. Linda described Jackson as a poem wearing human skin. When he picked up his guitar, the room changed. Conversation softened, air thickened, and time took on a languid, honey-like flow. Linda would sit on the floor of his living room as he played fragments of unfinished songs, raw, emotional, unguarded pieces of himself. One night, Linda recalled, he looked up mid-song and smiled like he'd just remembered something beautiful. That was the moment I knew we were already lovers, even before anything happened. Their intimacy was tender, deliberate, rhythmic like waves. Jackson didn't rush anything. He approached love the same way he approached songwriting, patiently, respectfully, with an uncanny awareness of emotion. And Linda, who had always been fiercely independent, felt herself soften under his touch in ways she never expected. He wasn't the wildest lover on her list, but he was, without question, the sweetest. Number 3, J.D. Souther. J.D. Souther was the kind of man women wrote songs about. Tall, elegant, heartbreakingly handsome, and sensitive in a way that felt almost dangerous. For Linda, J.D. was more than a lover. He was an experience. When they were together, the world took on a cinematic glow. Malibu evenings became movie scenes. The ocean sounded like applause. Candles flickered as if choreographed. Linda once said, "J.D. didn't kiss you. He composed you." Their nights were slow, melodic, and full of meaning. J.D. had a gift for making the smallest gestures feel sacred. A hand on the shoulder, a shared breath, a quiet, unbroken gaze. He treated intimacy like a spiritual ritual, something to be savored, not rushed. Linda admitted that J.G. Boyd's voice was the only man who made her feel completely safe inside her own vulnerability. His love was soft, steady, and impossibly deep. She called him the ballad of my life. It wasn't forever, but it was unforgettable. Number 4. Don Henley. While J.D. Souther was tenderness, Don Henley was precision, intentional, strategic, sexy in a cold, golden California way that bordered on predatory, in the best possible sense. Don knew exactly who he was and knew exactly what effect he had on the women around him. Linda was drawn to his confidence, the kind that didn't need to raise its voice. Don carried himself like the world moved for him. When he looked at Linda, it wasn't a question. It was a declaration. Their connection was physical, magnetic, sharp-edged. Don's style of intimacy was unlike anyone before him, measured yet explosive, controlled yet passionate, restrained yet undeniably intense. He kissed like he was testing boundaries. He spoke like he expected to be obeyed. And Linda, for once, didn't mind following someone else's lead. There was nothing soft about us, Linda confessed. We were two storms colliding. It didn't last. Fire rarely does, but it burned bright while it burned. Number 5. Warren Zevon. If Don Henley was fire, Warren Zevon was wildfire, dark, unpredictable, brilliant, troubled, the kind of man parents warn their daughters about, and daughters fall in love with anyway. Warren had a dangerous charm, the kind of smile that promised both ecstasy and destruction. When he walked into a room, he brought the night with him. Linda remembered the first time he kissed her. There was something frantic, desperate, intoxicating about it. Like he was trying to outrun his own demons, she said. Their relationship was chaos. Beautiful, seductive chaos. Warren wrote songs at 3 a.m. with cigarette ash falling on the carpet while Linda sat cross-legged on the bed, watching him unravel and rebuild himself in the span of a single verse. Passion with Warren was explosive, violent in its intensity, unforgettable in its sincerity. Linda knew it wasn't sustainable. She knew it wasn't healthy. But she also knew she would never feel anything like it again. He was the man she wanted to save, but couldn't. Number 6. Neil Young. Neil Young wasn't dangerous like Warren Zevon. He was dangerous like nature itself, raw, untamed, impossible to predict or control. With Neil, passion wasn't emotional or intellectual. It was primal. Linda described her chemistry with Neil as electricity wrapped in denim. He didn't coax her into intimacy with poetic words or slow seduction. He charged into her life like a storm. Their connection was immediate, physical, animalistic, yet strangely liberating. With Neil, Linda didn't feel soft or delicate. She felt alive, invincible, reckless in a way she never allowed herself to be. Their time together was short but intense, full of impulsive decisions, long nights, and a kind of loving that bordered on spiritual chaos. Neil made me feel free, she said simply. And sometimes, freedom is the most dangerous aphrodisiac of all. Number 7. Kris Kristofferson. Kris Kristofferson wasn't simply the final name on Linda Ronstadt's list. He was the exclamation point at the end of a life lived with fire, rugged, magnetic, impossibly intelligent, and poetically dangerous. Kris carried an energy that didn't just enter a room, it rearranged it. Linda said she felt his presence before she even heard his voice. He had the posture of a soldier, the gaze of a philosopher, and the hunger of a man who understood desire not as impulse, but as something sacred. For Linda, being with Kris felt like stepping into a force of nature. When he touched her, it wasn't gentle, it was intentional. When he kissed her, it wasn't tentative, it was consuming. And when he held her, she felt every version of him at once, the Rhodes Scholar, the outlaw songwriter, the Hollywood actor, the fighter pilot, the drifter, the poet. Their nights together were not simply passionate, they were epic. Linda remembered how Chris moved with purpose, as if he valued every second, as if he understood exactly how fleeting connection could be in a world built on stages and spotlights. "He made me feel like time stopped," she once said, "like the night belonged only to us." It wasn't just physical, it was spiritual, emotional, elemental. Chris Christopherson didn't love halfway. He loved like a man sprinting through the last moments of his life, determined to experience everything he could before dawn. For Linda Ronstadt, he wasn't just a lover. He was the one impossible to forget. In the end, Linda Ronstadt's revelation isn't about shock value. It's about honesty, freedom, and the fierce, unapologetic way she lived her life. These 7 men weren't conquests. They were chapters. Each one offered her a different kind of passion, a different lesson, a different piece of the fire that made her one of the greatest voices of her generation. Randy awakened her mind. Jackson soothed her soul. J.D. elevated her heart. Don challenged her. Warren consumed her. Neil liberated her. And Chris Christopherson, well, he changed her. At 79, Linda looks back without shame, without regret, and without a single word left unsaid. She isn't confessing for attention. She's claiming her story, her truth, her joy. Now it's your turn. Which of these 7 legends do you think had the strongest chemistry with Linda Ronstadt? Whose energy matches her bold and untamed spirit the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell, because more untold stories from music's golden era are coming, and you won't want to miss what's next.